This right here is the world's average height. So over 85% of hoopers around the world will be under 6 feet, probably more, which is what we typically call small guards. And if the vast majority of hoopers around the world are undersized guards, I figured a lot of you guys could benefit from a guide explaining all the fundamental skills you'll need to succeed with a shorter stature. So I'm currently in Aizawl, India, where hoopers here are known to be short but quick and skilled. So our focus over the 3 days here switched to helping them become the best small guards possible. And here you'll see a few things we covered. And it made me think even more that we got to realize that any successful small guard is incredibly skilled, most likely the highest skill level on the court. You'll never see a high minute small guard at a high level who can only make open shots and do the basics. Now the super basics are a great start that I strongly suggest taking care of, being able to make open layups, dribble, open shots, etc. But if you're a shorter guard watching this, don't put a limit on yourself for the sake of fundamentals, because your fundamentals at 5'10" will be significantly different from what others need to get on the court. And in this video, I'll cover a few of those things that I find to be absolutely vital for every undersized guard. Oh yeah, and if you're looking for the ultimate training program for all of this, check out the Small Guard Essentials program through the link in the description. Let's get it. So the first quality I'll discuss is dynamic shooting. It doesn't take a genius to realize that smaller guards have a tougher time getting shots off. And as a result, it's tough to find one who isn't good at shooting on the move. So this can include slightly fading backwards on pull-ups to get shots off over bigger reaches. Threes, where instead of stopping momentum and then shooting, you're going straight up into the shot to maximize your space from the defense. Maybe shots with a funky footwork like an outside-inside, a quick hop where maybe your feet don't get perfectly aligned where you'd like them, and really just being comfortable knocking it down regardless of how you get into the shot, because oftentimes as smaller guards, shit ain't gonna be perfect and to the book. Next up is anticipation, being ahead of the game. Part of being a smaller guard is outthinking opponents, but also being so experienced that you make these quick, subconscious reads in a split second. Let's take a few examples. Splitting a ball screen here is a great one. Whereas most players who are behind the game wait until now to pick up on this, good small guards are already seeing this happening here and getting ahead of it. Like here, Campasso clearly sees this about to happen, but waits till this defender is even further out to actually explode and split. So now he's making a composed decision where he actually has to wait a bit rather than being thrown off guard with a split-second reaction. Here he picks up that this cut will likely grab the attention of this help defender, so he's gearing up to pass it to Tavares before he's even fully open. Same thing here. It's often not a reaction to a teammate being open, but the understanding of how the defense is going to move that cues these decisions. So if you're a small guard, you're going to need a ton of time getting experience in live play. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Most of these are instinctual decisions that you can't really think about. They just come by playing, situational training, and watching film to understand these patterns. Like you don't really understand the timing and the patience on the Spanish screen to wait for an open shooter until you've been there and done that. Which is why out here in India, we put a huge focus on putting players in these situations and exposing them to different decisions and then coaching them up within this environment. Next is simple space creation. As a small guard, you won't have the longest leash most times, especially at first. So there's not much room for you to be dribbling around a bunch to stop the flow of a system. And even the guys who you do see do that, one, have worked their way up to it, and two, that's often a very small percentage of their game. So the question then becomes, how can you create space for yourself or to draw defenders to create an advantage for your teammates with 3 dribbles or less? Here are a few ways to do that. Number 1, use your surroundings. Beating a defender is a lot easier when they're preoccupied a bit, looking away, and you can keep it simple to blow by and get downhill. 2, attack closeouts. Initiate the offense, get off the rock, and then when it comes back to you, use your craftiness and skill to create in a simple manner. 3, use your momentum. Get defenders moving away from the rim in creative ways like this, or even just have them leaning on you, and then use that against them to spin off, as well as the opposite, getting them moving at a high speed to the rim to cut you off, and then creating space by separating backwards. And then, of course, contact, which we'll talk about next. Now, a great way to develop this, ones.
I feel like ones is the best way to really develop your game because you have nobody to pass to. You have to figure it out, and you'll see. I would say do 3 months of ones, do a summer of ones, and watch your game the next season. That's pretty much what a lot of my trainers growing up had me doing was full court one-on-ones, situational one-on-ones, and then he'd give me some games, some moves to do, and then I would try the moves in the one-on-ones. That's how you work on your game.
Next, as I mentioned, is contact initiation, which is a bigger concept and one that every elite small guard is good at. When you're lacking in brute strength, as even the strongest smaller guards are with bigger defenders, you need to develop strategies and the mindset to hit first, but do it in control. So this includes being able to, once you get the defender on the hip, create leverage and good position by giving the defense a controlled bump, which then allows you to finish a bit more comfortably. This oftentimes will be off of 2 feet, so as a side note, get coordinated and comfortable playing off 2. This can also be when the defense does a good job of beating you to that spot, and you safely lean into them to bump and take advantage of their momentum, which is already moving in this direction. Although this is one of the toughest in my opinion, it's definitely a good one to have in the toolbox, especially on shorter jumpers. And also is being able to put the defenders in jail behind you by staying glued to them, not allowing them to get back around, and maintaining a 2v1 situation here. So the overall lesson here, be looking to get and keep defenders out of the play or in a bad position by giving them a smart, well-controlled bump or sustained contact. Then other times it's about being able to use your stature to your advantage and get through small spaces. As a smaller guard, if you see these spaces that you can burst through that others can't, it's a great way to become a more dynamic playmaker than someone who's a bit taller. Now, on the flip side of that is one of our biggest disadvantages, post defense. But you can get good at this. Like even TJ Shorts, one of the smallest EuroLeague players out there, is statistically a good defender and is a neutral post defender, which helps him stay on the court without being matchup hunted much. A lot of this comes down to strategy as you're stalling the post up, at least until you can send them into your help. Maybe making them shoot tough shots, pulling the chair, using upward leverage to annoy them, and more. And overall just being scrappy, which goes for everywhere on the court. As a smaller guard, you need to be a pest. You need to be getting under bigger players and annoying them, anticipating, and wreaking havoc. If you're not, you're often a liability and it keeps a ton of players off the court. Next, you have to be good on ball screens. This one's a non-negotiable. Rarely will smaller guards be playing off of the ball for a majority of their possessions, and we're the ones expected to initiate the offense more than anything. How is this done most often? In many teams, ball screens. This is obviously a whole video in itself, but working on this is absolutely a small guard fundamental, especially understanding the second layer in the defense and not rushing. Most small guards try to go too quickly because they shy away from contact and want to use their speed as their main advantage. So playing patiently is key. So again, you guys' superpower for the most part is your quickness. It's about learning how to use that when it's necessary versus all the time. So be very smart with that one fast dribble. Now another vital small guard skill is creatively finding passing windows, especially on ball screens when you have 2 defenders with much wider frames looking to deflect the ball. Definitely take some innovative ways to get the ball through. This could be getting close to the ground with a bounce pass, jumping a bit to get over, reaching around them, and more. And similarly here, being able to handle pressure from wide frames. So the best small guards aren't worried when somebody gets close to them. They know that they can maintain control even with physicality, with contact, even if it's a 7-footer. So being able to come off a ball screen, maybe get hit as you get cut off, and handle this pressure, whether it's in the half court or the full court, is an absolute necessity for you. And then lastly is being a point guard. There aren't many small guards in the world who can get away without all the qualities it takes to be a point guard. The leadership, the communication, the understanding that you have to play make and initiate the offense for others. And if you can get all of these down, it's gonna help you a ton. Now, of course, a lot of this relies on athleticism as well, which we'll talk about in a future video. Basically all the different ways to get athletic specific to being a great small guard. But this is a fantastic start. It's not the whole list, but it's a lot of things that you need to be a successful undersized guard at any level that you would want to play at. As always, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you guys learned something. Make sure to check out that Small Guard Essentials program, and I'll see you next time.